Hello and welcome to another webinar from the Accountants Mastermind. My name is Mark and I'm here today with Jen and Suze from WhisperClaims. Jen and Suze are going to talk to you about how preparing robust R&D tax claims that your clients can depend on. Say hello, Jen and Suze.
Hello.
Hello, and let's get started. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Suze and Jen. Good morning to you both.
Morning.
I will leave you with Jen and Suze to enjoy the webinar with WhisperClaims.
Thanks, Mark. Hello, welcome everybody to our session today, Preparing Robust Claims in a Changing Landscape. I'm Suze, Commercial Manager here at WhisperClaims, and today I'm delighted to introduce you all to Jen, who is not Mike. Poor Mike is unfortunately not very well today, so Jen has very kindly stepped in. Jen wears carries out multiple roles within the business. She is co-founder, she is subject expert on R&D tax. She straddles leading the development on our software, as well as being the friendly support at the end of the phone and email or live chat on our advice line. So thank you so much for joining us today, Jen. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know us, we are an R&D tax software company with a difference. We help UK accountants to confidently navigate the complexity behind HMRC's R&D tax scheme in a way that is clear and comprehensible. As everybody will hear today will no doubt be very, very aware, the R&D tax landscape continues to move and change at a considerable pace. We've had lots of legislation reform, we've had a House of Lords inquiry, there's been quite a considerable shift in HMRC's behaviour, and new processes and protocols have been introduced. For accountants new to offering an R&D tax service, and for those already immersed in the process, finding somewhere to turn to seek clarity, to ask questions, to get help to steer through all the noise is not always easy. And now that the additional information form is firmly in place, firms do need to find even more efficiencies to comply with this big new step in their process. So the aim of today is to demonstrate how WhisperClaims can help. Jen is going to kick us off by providing a brief intro into us, why we do what we do, the impact that we've had on the R&D tax market to date. I think she's got, thanks Jen, a little outline there for us. She'll also discuss some of the significant new and upcoming changes and the challenges that they present to both advisors and claimants. We'll have a dive into the app and show you around that in some more detail. We'll then chat through our comprehensive support suite and our pricing, and we'll top all of that off, as Mark said, with a Q&A, but very happy to have questions answered as we go through the session as well. So I will hand over to Jen and be back shortly for the demo.
Right, thanks, Suze. So as Sue says, I'm not Mike, so I'm sorry if I'm not completely slick in doing this. But yeah, so obviously we have R&D tax relief software, but we're not just tech, but really I should start with saying what we are not is consultants. We don't do claims, we don't work directly with SMEs. Our whole focus is supporting, advising, educating accountants and providing them with the tools that they need to produce robust claims. So we do this through the combination of our award-winning software that helps take the pain out of the process of actually preparing a claim. We also have a whole suite of learning tools. We have a set of ebooks, we do training courses, all sorts of things to help people gain the knowledge they need to do this well. And we also have our advice line. So anyone that needs to get any help, any advice can call us at any time. We can talk about both the software and also R&D tax relief itself, any questions about that. We also, as we do this, we have ways that we can help you actually check that your claim is robust and should be acceptable to HMRC. So we have an automated risk assessment, which Suze will show you in the demo. So that just goes through all the answers you've put in and gives you a risk rating on the claim. And alongside this, we also offer a claim review service. So we can actually take a deep dive into your claim, have a really good look at everything you've put in, which obviously with the AIF, which I'll talk about more in a minute, people are needing this more and more just to have a check of the things they've written. And alongside this, we also have WhatsApp groups so we can get peer-to-peer support. So that's really, really helpful for questions like, what's HMRC's current processing time? Has anyone experienced this from HMRC? Has anyone had this weird response? That kind of thing. Even I have a client that has this kind of very niche company setup. Can I still claim R&D tax relief? Anything like that. And that's a really, really useful tool for finding out about that kind of external R&D issues around HMRC and things like that. And really our focus, as the slide says, is empowering you to deliver R&D tax services under your own brand. We're never at the forefront of this. It's supporting you and helping you to do it. So far, we've grown to having over 150 subscribing firms nationwide. So it's 150 accounting firms and probably 350 to 400 actual users on the app. So quite a lot of people using it. And we've now processed over 3,250 claims, which is really, really good. It's actually about 1% of the claims that goes through every year goes through WhisperClaims. And that amounts to £550 million of eligible spend being processed and about 135 million of tax benefits delivered. So we're really, really proud of how far we've come and how much use the software has actually got. And through our journey, we've actually been recognised by several different awards, both tech awards showing that we're doing something technically difficult, and having just got through building the AIF product, I will say that what we do is not easy, and the accounting side of things. So obviously doing something that is a real value add to people in the accountancy sector. And really, we've done this through taking something that's seen as complex, and obviously the complexity increases with every change HMRC make, and making it straightforward. It's not easy, but we take a lot of the pain out of it, and it's a simple product and a simple business model for our users.
Thanks, Jen. So
I'm fast to Suze.
All right. I'm just going to talk a little bit about who our customers are, who is it that we sell to, and generally what the characteristics are of the types of firms that engage with us. So we've got two sort of key groups that we've identified. Over on the left-hand side there, these are firms who are, generally speaking, already preparing claims. They're looking at increasing efficiency, maximising capacity, and are looking for some support to keep on top of the changing legislation. First up, they are likely to be looking to want to streamline and find efficiencies when it comes to preparing and the actual writing of reports. They're looking for a structure, a way to be guided that enables them to move away from, never-ending Word and Excel files, and being able to bring data together in a way that is straightforward, high quality, and that includes everything that HMRC needs to assess a claim for. Making sure that they have everything.
Oh, we lost you for a moment there, Sue. Sorry, we just.
No problem. Can you hear me now? Sorry.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm not sure what you did or didn't hear, but I was just making the point that the group on the left, are looking for ways to find a way to bring together all of the data from their clients in a high quality manner that includes everything that HMRC needs to assess a claim, and everything that our clients need to fill out the AIF, the additional information form, and the demo is going to show us how the system achieves that in just a moment. This group on the left are also coming to us because of our advice line support, to have that additional shoulder to lean on when it comes to technical awareness of the scheme. As Jen's already said, many of our customers are not doing claims week in, week out. It'll be part of, like a portfolio of services that they're delivering. So they get a huge amount of value knowing that they have us here on the end of the phone, a live chat or an email to help them with whatever the most current guidelines are. And the last point about having a structured process to keep them compliant and consistent, that manifests itself in cases where maybe you've got firms who've got colleagues who are all used to doing things in a slightly different way, working together. Maybe they've got different structures and approaches that they like to take, and this is a way to have everybody achieving sort of consistency. Or it could be that you've got firms who've got multiple offices on multiple sites, and there's a need to ensure that everybody is working to the same standards and processes. So similar thing. Anybody who's brand new to the service, so groups on the right-hand side, this is probably the largest proportion of our customer base. So these are firms who are offering the service for the first time. It's possible that their clients have been working with external service providers. That might be a case where a firm has been proactively outsourcing via referral relationships or not, or maybe they've just been leaving their clients to do their own thing. Whichever the circumstance, they're coming to us to pull the service in-house so that they can deliver the service themselves. So they're looking to launch without building additional capacity. They're not looking to recruit anybody new or look for specific expertise in the scheme because we can help bring all of that to you. This group are often looking for opportunities to engage in deeper conversations with their clients, to add more value to their clients' businesses and to create stickier relationships. And finally, as with the group that are already working on claims, preparing claims,
We've lost Suze again.
To lean on our technical advice via our advice line support. Oh, you've lost me again.
Yeah, we did just lose you for a blip, but we got you back.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just anyone who's on the call, we had chaotic technical issues to start with. I'm really sorry. Sorry, Mark, you go ahead.
No, it's fine. I was just because when you were talking about this, one of the things that came up, obviously, when you've done one of the webinars with us previously, you had Jenny on, and I know that one of the things that Jenny particularly talked about, and sorry if you're going to come on to this, if you are, then just tell me to be quiet. But one of the things that I think Jenny was struggling when she first started is the landscape was quite changing even back then for her. So she didn't have a specialist in this, was being asked quite a lot and was having to either turn the business away or as you say, outsource it. And I think the biggest thing that was able to provide for her as a knock-on effect was that customers were more sticky because they knew they were dealing with her practice as opposed to being passed around. Now, we all know that we can't always have experts in every field in a practice, certainly in a smaller practice. But for me, one of the benefits that she talks about is that she was able to start doing it without the expense of an R&D specialist to employ, but also with the reliability and the safety net that you guys had the robust systems in place. And I just wondered if you had anything else to add on that, because I think it's really important.
I mean, just everything that you said there's really, really key. Jen, do feel free to jump in if you've got anything you'd like to say. But I think there's a lot of accountants may have been in a position where maybe they don't even know that their client has an R&D tax claim, and the first sight that they get of that having occurred is having to submit a CT600 that they may then feel uncomfortable submitting because they're not across the figures, they haven't had anything to do with the claim, and obviously it's sort of their responsibility on that basis, so that makes them feel uncomfortable. As we know, as part of the big changes that have been going on in the sector just now, that the behaviour that HMRC has been these one-to-many letters targeting specific sectors, SIT codes, that sort of thing. We know that there are rogue providers out there that are cold calling firms and suggesting that they may have a claim and just give us your accounts and we'll put the claim together. You don't need to do anything. So that the SMEs themselves don't even know what's being claimed for. So should there be any issues downstream, that whoever the provider is long gone, and that the company is left potentially in a really tricky position with HMRC, not really understanding what it was that they claimed for and potentially facing penalties or something worse. So having the ability to bring the service in-house and know that you have control and a handle over the full process and full visibility between you and your client is a really, really positive thing. Don't know if you've got anything to add there, Jen.
No, I think you've covered everything, Suze.
Okay, great.
Cool.
That's okay. I think it's back to you, Jen, just for a moment, and then we'll head to the demo.
Yeah. So just to give you a quick summary of, obviously, as Suze alluded to at the beginning, there's been a huge number of changes made to the R&D tax relief scheme over the last year or so. There's still more coming. We're waiting to see what happens in the budget. But at the moment, the big changes, sort of headline changes, I think as everyone knows now, the enhancement rates decreased in April. So for spending incurred after the 1st of April, the rate has gone down for an SME from 130% to 86%, which is a really big change. RDEC increased from 13% to 20%, which basically brings the two schemes in line. There's a similar level of tax benefits for both SMEs and RDEC now. And obviously the tax credit rate is also reduced from 14.5% to 10%. So that's had a big effect on the amount of tax benefit that SMEs will get back. What the government did do after there was a small outcry about the reduction in rates for SMEs is they've introduced this R&D intensive rate. So they can still get the 14.5% tax credit rate. So that's for loss-making SMEs. But they have to have spent more than 40% of the overall spending in the company must be on R&D. So not a huge number of companies are going to hit those criteria. And that's also something that there was a delay on even being able to do it because they needed to release the secondary legislation. So that's now available. Another small change was sort of additional types of work and additional types of costs have been introduced. So for claims starting on or after the 1st of April 2023, you can now claim for pure mathematics, which I think will affect about 5 companies in the country, but that's still good. And you can also include costs of data licenses and cloud computing services, which really just modernized the software part of the scheme that got very, very out of date, given that most companies now will do almost everything using cloud computing services. The biggest change, though, has been the additional information form. So this came into force on the 8th of August. And what this means is that there's a requirement now to fill out an online form for HMRC before you can submit a CT600 that contains R&D tax relief. There's a minimum number of project descriptions have to be included in that, and they've mandated the way the costs have to be presented and broken down across those projects. What HMRC have said is that in August, 50% of claims were not accompanied by an additional information form. So 50% of the claims submitted in August have actually been rejected. So if you don't submit an additional information form now, the claim is rejected and gets thrown in the bin. So this is a huge change. It's the first time in the history of the scheme that HMRC has mandated actual supporting information for a claim. The other kind of changes that haven't really hit many people yet, there's the claim notification form. So this is where for companies that have never claimed before or haven't claimed in a long time, they are now required to notify HMRC of their intention to claim R&D tax relief within 6 months of the end of the accounting period. But that's only for claims starting after 1st April 2023. So not many of those have actually had to be used yet. There was also in the budget a move to disallow overseas expenditure on subcontractors and EPWs. That has been pushed to 2024. The change, what changes will come in April, we can't say yet. As I say, we're waiting nervously for what comes out in the budget next month. But alongside this, there's been a huge change in HMRC's behaviour. So as Suze said at the beginning, we've had a large number of consultations coming out. We've had the House of Lords inquiry into what they've been doing and why. But actually, the most kind of difficult thing that's happening is HMRC's attitude to inquiries. So they've massively increased the rate of inquiries. So people are far more likely to get questions about R&D tax relief claims, and they're far less friendly and collaborative than they used to be about this. So we're hoping that they're eventually going to work through whatever they're working through, and we will see that rate reduce. But at the moment, it's a difficult thing it's difficult to avoid inquiries, and it's difficult to defend them. So we are seeing a lot of kind of upset and difficulty in the sector at the moment. So what we're doing as a company with our software to make sure that our clients, our users can stay ahead of all these changes and make sure everything's up to date. So one of the easiest ones, we've added in those additional costs. So you can claim for pure mathematics, you can add your cloud computing and data license costs. The other thing with the way the software works, which helps our clients a lot, is if your claim doesn't have the right dates to be allowed to claim cloud computing, you won't see that as an option. So that's one thing that we really like about the way we can make the software work, is you'll only be asked about data costs, you'll only be asked about pre-notification if your claim needed that. So it makes it a lot easier for our clients to keep up with what claims have what when, especially with all the changes that are going on. We've added in questions about whether claim notification was required for those claims and whether it was given, so that nobody starts preparing a claim, incurs costs, spends time on something where they actually can't claim because the notification wasn't given. So it's making sure that nobody wastes any time or money. For the rate changes, we've split the costs into pre and post April, and we've sort of edited everything to make sure that all the enhancement rates are correct for the claims that you're putting through. we are already ahead of ourselves with obviously subcontractors and EPWs, so we've already got that ready to come in 2024. So that will just double check that all the subcontractors are UK subcontractors or allowable for different reasons. But the biggest change, and this was my entire summer, is the changing everything so that we can give you an output that is compliant with HMRC's additional information form. So we've now introduced a third output from the system. We had a Word file, we had a PDF that Suze will be showing you, and we also have a text file now that has all the information in the right order for you just to copy and paste it straight over into the additional information form. But to be able to do this, we had to update the way that we gather the technical details. We've had to ask for more things around the company itself, so the UTR, VAT number, PAYE references. We've had to put in things to work out how many project descriptions you're going to need to do, because it depends on how much of the spending is in each project. We've had to split the cost project by project because that's how HMRC want it presented. And as I say, we've got this new output to enable that copy and paste. So it's allowed our clients to far more easily move into using the additional information form without having to change the way that they prepare their claims too much. All right, I'm going to stop talking now and pass over to Suze for the demo.
Thanks, Jen. We just need to have a little switcheroo of our screens here. So let me just bring up the app and I'll share that with you all. Okay, Jen, can you just give me a thumbs up that you can see the website? Lovely, thank you so much. Okay, so while I just log in, we do offer demo sessions to anybody who would like to see a demo at any point in time. We do normally ask for an hour for a demo just to give you a thorough run through of the system and make sure we've got an opportunity to answer any questions that you have. As you'll know, today we don't have anywhere near that amount of time, so this is going to be a fairly whistle-stop tour through the system, looking into specific parts of the system at quite a high level, and I think this is going to be reiterated later on as well, but if anybody does want to get in touch for a longer chat or conversation, please do feel free to do that. Would be really happy to speak to you. So I think the first thing to say before we go any further is that it's really important to emphasise that any user of our software does need to have a basic level of understanding of HMRC's guidance and understand what constitutes eligibility. This will always be a learning curve. Every time you engage with a new client to assess whether they qualify or not will be a slightly different conversation, and hence why you've heard already about why we've developed our software to be placed in the hands of accountants and specialist advisors, and why we provide such a breadth of training and educational resources to wrap around the technology to make sure that we're supporting our customers in the best possible way. We've got three key dashboards to show you. So your homepage dash is what we have in front of us here. You've got access to recent clients and recent claims. You've got access to content that we're pushing out to keep you up to date with any changes, to give you updates on any new tools and resources that we're pushing out, that sort of thing. If there's nothing else that you leave with here today, it's the fact that everywhere you are within the app, you can access our support, which, as we've already talked about, Jen heads up. So you're always going to get through to one of the team who's going to be able to discuss any scheme or eligibility related questions you have, anything to do with the software too. Give us a ring. We will talk you through any issues or questions that you have. So everywhere you are within the app, you've got this question mark icon. If I just click on there, you're going to see you've got our phone number and you can email us from within the app. And you also have us available on live chat as well, if you prefer to use that method. To manage your account is very straightforward in terms of the admin. So you've got your profile, you can view your subscription details in the admin. You can add and remove users, so users of anybody within the firm who's preparing claims. You can see invoices, and we have a neat little report styling wizard, which just gives you the opportunity to add in company logos, update the colours in the report to maybe reflect your brand guidelines. You can add footers, and you can also change the order of the report if you want to. This is all completely optional. It's just a nice bells and whistles optional extra to have. When it comes to working with a company for the first time, you need to add them to the client dashboard, which is here. This is what your dashboard will look like in time, and it's very straightforward to add a new client. A form comes up, you fill out the details. We've just got a little integration here with Companies House that's just doing that initial check there to make sure the company exists at Companies House, to make sure they are eligible to claim R&D tax relief, and we'll pre-populate those top 2 fields. And as Jen has already said, to comply with the AIF, there's some mandatory information that we need to take from you, and that's the UTR, the POE, and if applicable, the VAT number as well, to create a company in the first place. The workflow tab is the other key dashboard that you will be in. There's quite a lot going on the screen, so I'm just going to pull out a couple of things to mention. So to add a new client is really new claim, is really straightforward and simple. You just click on the add claim button, determine which company you want to add the claim to, and that's going to launch you into a fresh question set. Running down the center of the screen, you've got color-coded progress bars. These are indicating how far along you are in the process. You can dip in and out of the process as many times as you need to until you feel you're in a position to finalize and download. And when you have finalized and downloaded a claim, you're going to see that turn green. If I just move along this row here, you're then going to see your report and your AIF output sitting here in the admin, ready for you to download. And if for whatever reason you notice that there's some omissions or something else you want to add, or an error, or something you need to correct, maybe some figures that you need to finalize, all you need to do is come into the admin, click on the 3 dots, and you can request for a claim to be unlocked. That sends an email to us here in the background. We'll unlock the claim for you, which will enable you to go back in, make any changes or amendments that you want to make to the report, and then you can refinalize and re-download again. That's probably enough for the dashboards. Let's take you into the system. So this is the start of any question set, and I think it's important to also mention that WhisperClaims is not just a form-filling exercise. The software is a decision-making tool that not only facilitates your internal processes that you adopt within your firm, but also the conversations that you're having with your client, ensuring that all of the right questions have been asked, that all the corners of the scheme have been poked into, and that you're staying on the right side of HMRC. Every page has a similar structure, so I'll just quickly describe that, and then we'll dot through the process and show you the output. So over here on your left-hand side, you have a progress / navigation bar. So these are all of the sections that you're going to work through as you prepare a claim. The question set is dynamic. In the background, it's constantly flexing to do 2 key things: to assess the status of the claim, so whether it's SME or RDEC spend that we're looking at, or a bit of both, depending on the situation with the clients. And we also have several eligibility checkers in place. Those are front-loaded. The idea being, Jen's already alluded to this already, is that we don't want you going through the process, spending time between you and your client, gathering information and getting to the end, and the computer says no. We want to help you screen out any ineligible clients as quickly as possible, so you're not wasting your time or your client's time, and I'll demonstrate that as we go through. Every page starts with the question or a statement. You've got buttons, sliders, drop downs, multiple choice questions, free text boxes to answer the questions. Every question has its own in-app help and support. So as well as being able to tap into us directly, you've got notes, a short video, and links that take you directly to the guidance on every single page as well. That's obviously bespoke to the question you're on. We've got a notes section on every page. It just acts a bit like a Google Doc. The notes are for internal use only, so nothing you put in this notes section will pull through into the reports, but it's there to potentially communicate between team members or collaborators, there to maybe add in justifications for why you've answered a question in a certain way. So should there be any questions or queries raised downstream, it means you can easily refer back to your notes, and that makes any process of inquiries or queries by HMRC that bit easier. The last thing you'll see on every single page is dynamic feedback. So this is just based on a red, amber, green protocol. Green is everything's good, let's move on to the next question. Amber's there to serve a couple of different purposes: to let you know if you need to be asked some more questions, to identify if there is maybe a weakness in the claim, that sort of thing. And then finally, one of our eligibility, an example of one of our eligibility checkers here that's going to screen you out of the process is in front of you as a red endpoint. So this is advising you that the claim is not valid, it does not meet the criteria. We're not a limited company in this example, so we can't claim R&D tax relief. As you can imagine, our advice would always be, if you hit a red endpoint, abandon, gently let your client know that they're not eligible this year, but you can reassess in a year's time. However, if a mistake's been made in the way that you've answered the question, or more information comes to light, you can reverse out of that to move forward. The first part of the process is a basic qualification check. I'm just going to gently scroll through the questions just to give you a feel for the types of things that we're we're asking here. You're always responsible for completing the qualification checks, and they're there to help you ensure that the client meets the very minimum criteria to be able to move forward and claim. Jen's already mentioned pre-notification and how the system will stop you in your tracks if you've not met the criteria. So if I can just show you here again, I don't meet pre-notification on this example here, so I'm going to be stopped and I will abandon the claim and wait till next year. Last couple of questions in the qualification check, and then that is us through into the company section. The main key thing from this point of the process onwards is that you can introduce your clients and collaborate directly with them on the software. And the way that you would do that is just by clicking on the collaborators tab. You can see, I think, a form will come up when I click on the link, and that will enable me to invite an unlimited number of collaborators to the claim. Collaborators can only see the claim that they are invited to, and they do have a restricted view of the question set, so they don't see the qualification check. And when we get to the review, finalisation and download stage, I'll flag that they don't see any of that either. You can further restrict visibility within the question set to certain members of the team. If maybe they're less senior members and shouldn't have access to things like salaries, you can switch off access to the costs when you add them in. That's just a decision that you would make between you and your client. Just another example as to how the system is flexing here in the background. If I increase the number of staff over the threshold to be able to claim under the SME scheme, you can see at the bottom of the page there, my feedback is now telling me that we no longer meet SME criteria and we're looking at an RDEC claim. So that's just, again, helping you manage your clients' expectations. And there's a couple of other scenarios like group structures, for example, and shareholdings that can affect the status of the claim. So you'll see the feedback flexing there in the background, indicating in that example that we would need to be asked some additional questions to move forward. Into the project section now. So this is the part of the process where we are identifying and looking at all of the work that the client's been undertaking over the financial period and understanding where eligibility lies. So this part of the process is prompting questions and helping you gather data for the reports. So let's have a quick look at one of the key questions and one of the key things you need to cover off with your client all around this bit of legislation here is around what type of R&D is your client active in. So in this part of the process, we've got 4 areas, sections A, B, C and D. And whether a customer is or isn't active in a certain area of R&D is quite a binary question. Yes, they are, no, they're not. The idea of these sliders that you can see is to help understand what intensity the company is working at within that type of R&D. So the way that we answer these next 4 questions will manifest itself as a graph in the report at the end, which you'll see in just a moment. Once you've understood what type of R&D the client is doing, you need to make sure that you have identified that there are competent professionals. These are the really highly qualified, highly skilled individuals who are leading the technical problem solving. These are people who are finding something hard, and should there be any questions or queries raised by HMRC downstream, these are the people that HMRC are going to want to speak to. So it's really important you know who they are, and they need to have a lot of input into the claim as well. Once we've identified them, let's see what types of things these competent professionals are finding hard. So here we've got a series of categories and a list of options that you can choose from. So through discussion with your client, you would identify what were the things that they were finding hard. Let's skip down to outputs now. So again, as part of your kind of internal processes, as well as important information that you need to gather from your clients, it's really important that your client has evidence to substantiate the work that they're claiming for. We're not asking you to produce any of this information up front, but there is a paragraph in the report that lists the type of evidence that a client has. And should your client ever turn around and say that they don't have evidence for one or more of the projects that they want to claim for, that is a bit of a red flag, and we would suggest that you maybe leave that project out of the claim. We also handle grants because they can impact the way that spend is routed. I don't have any grants in this example here, but it's important to demonstrate to HMRC if grants have been received, even if they haven't impacted the claim, that you've gone through a process and been thorough and done your due diligence to ensure that that is the case. Jen's touched on this as part of being compliant with the additional information form. We need to let HMRC know how many projects that we're claiming for, and depending on how many projects we're claiming for will determine just how many projects we need to describe in detail, and that will happen further on downstream. The number of projects that we need to describe is related also to the proportion of the eligible spend, and we're going to help you work all of this out. So in this example, I'm saying that I've got 5 projects that I'm describing, and then the next part of this question is for me to add in a title for each of these projects so that we can now start to work out in the cost section, which is next, what proportion of spend do we relate to each project, which how much spend is represented by each project, and therefore we can then determine which projects we're going to describe further on downstream. The cost section is very straightforward. This is the bit that's black and white for most accountants, the bit that the accountants like best. So as you can see, we go through each section in detail. This is just an example of the staff costs. You can manually add this data in, or you can upload a CSV file, and the system will ask you to map the fields that you want to pull down. So if you've got a data dump from Xero or your any other financial software, you can pull in that data very quickly and easily. We cover software costs as well. I've purposely made this claim post April 2023 so I can show you that we have included the new cost categories that Jen has already mentioned. I won't go through every single cost category because it's not relevant to show you that just now, but there's a running theme for you to gather all of that data so that you've got everything you need for the end results. The last bit of the process that we're going to send you through is now to look at the how many projects we're going to need to describe. So now we've pulled in all of the costs. We've got my list of projects here, and the system has given me an overall percentage of eligible spend per project. And I now need to, because I've got 5 projects, describe a minimum of 3 projects. And those 3 projects also need to represent at least 50% of the overall qualifying spend. So even though I've already got a project down here that is more than 50% of the overall qualifying spend in this example, you can see that the system is stopping me in my tracks because I haven't identified the 3 projects that I need to describe to comply with the additional information form. Once I have done that, the final part of the process that you're going to go through is to describe these 3 projects in detail. So the technical description section here is a templated section that has been specifically designed to make it easier for you to only include information that HMRC needs to know and that they need to understand to assess the client's projects, and also information that is mandatory for the additional information form. So we ask about the technical lead, and the field of science and technology has been pulled through from earlier questions that we've been asked. What period of time within the financial year was this work taking place? It could have been the whole year or just a proportion of the year. And then the 4 key areas that you need to describe in detail, and it's really useful to get your clients involved in this section. What was the industry baseline? What were the advances being sought? And what were the uncertainties? And then what were the resolutions that were attempted? You can also attach an image and add an image description in at this point as well. So that's us at the end of the process. If I just quickly show you all the other project tabs, and if for whatever reason you were missing some data in any of these fields, you'll see a tab turn amber, which will mean that you can't move on because you've got some missing data. Again, the system is just making sure that you have everything you need before proceeding. The final part of the process is the review section. This is the part of the process that collaborators don't see. So up until the previous page, collaborators can potentially see all of those questions. This is the point onwards where you only have access to the system. There's quite a lot going on this screen, so I'll just take it in sections. So over on your left-hand side, you've got your claim summary review, which is essentially an output of all of the numerical data that's been added in over the process, giving you a chance to stop and take a breath and make sure that everything makes sense. You can see you've got lots of edit functionality here, so if you need to go back and review and edit any of the figures, you can do so very quickly and easily. Over on your right-hand side, we have our claim risk assessment, which Jen has mentioned a bit earlier on in the conversation, and I've purposely made this look fairly horrible. The claim risk assessment is there not as a measure of eligibility. You've already gone all the way through the process. You've not hit any of the endpoints. You've done your due diligence. You've been thorough with all of the data that you've been entered. This is here to help you understand if there are any potential weaknesses or anything that may potentially pique HMRC's interest, to help you make sure that you have dotted all your I's and crossed your T's. You have all the right evidence to support any questioning, and you have confidence that should there be an inquiry or an audit check, you have a robust and a defensible claim. The claim summary, the claim risk assessment, is based on a low, medium and high rating, and it looks at things like the company sector, so SIC codes, size of the claim versus turnover, as you can see here, if grants are present, if there are any group structures or shareholdings. The final two parts of this page are just an output of the approximate qualifying spend. You can see this figure is very rounded. It's rounded down ever so slightly at this stage, just to give you an ability to do a quick and rough calculation of what the benefit might look like. You'll see the final figures in the reports. And we also let you know how much you're going to pay for the report before you finalise as well. This just gives you opportunity to make lots of options and decisions before you finalise. Lastly, the wow moment. This is the bit where you don't need to worry about writing a report. The system is going to do all of the legwork for you. It's now just going to baseline the figures and write the narrative for us, and it just takes a couple of seconds. And that's it done. We're now ready to download our reports. Before we download, again, Jen has touched on this service already. We do have an additional service called our WhisperClaims review. This is just an optional layer of reassurance should you feel you need it. Unlike the automated review on the previous page, this is a deep dive desk-based review where we will review all of the publicly available information about the company. We will look at the technical descriptions and assess those for eligibility. We'll analyse the costs, and we'll provide you with a PDF report giving you hints, tips and advice where required, if necessary, as to how you may want to improve your reports, anything to help it be more robust and more likely to pass HMRC scrutiny. If you want to add a claim review to your output, just click on the Add Now button before you download, and that will send an email to support, and we will get that service underway for you. These are the three documents that Jen has mentioned as well earlier on in the conversation. So this is your Word file, your PDF and your text file. So I'll just quickly show you all of those before we do the final bit of the presentation and get to your questions. So the reports will hopefully appear in my browser. There we go. Looks like this. So you've got a cover page with all of your client data, the main contact, and also your details, which again is necessary to comply with the new legislation, table of contents. And then I'm just going to gently scroll through the report, but hopefully what you'll see is all of those buttons, those sliders, those drop downs, all of that information data has now been turned into a narrative to support your client's claim for R&D tax relief, giving HMRC, you and your client confidence that all of the right questions have been asked. The next bit you're going to see is the project description. So this is the bit right at the end of the process where you're describing in more detail, in my example, 3 key projects, again, to support the information required for the additional information form. And then the final bit of the report is looking at the cost section. So treatment of costs, which is narrative burst. And then you're going to see a breakdown of the qualifying spend table. This is the figure that will need to go onto the CT600. And I've got a couple of appendix because I've added in some detailed costs in some of my other cost categories in this example here. The final other output is the additional information form. So if I just quickly reshare my screen to show you that as well. Unfortunately, that won't come up in my browser, but I'll reshare my screen very quickly. Jen mentioned that this is a text file. So if I just make that a little bit bigger, as you can see, all of the process that you've gone through and all of the data that you've entered has now been pulled through into this text file, making it very easy for you to copy and paste. It's all in the right order for you to now approach the additional information form before you fill out the CT600 and submit the reports with that. So that's just an example of what that looks like there. Okay, so that's the process, that's the outputs. I'm just going to stop sharing so I can ask Jen if she doesn't mind to come back and pop the slides up for us. And still with me. I've mentioned a £600 report fee. So I'll just quickly go over our pricing, a quick clarification of that. We have 2 pricing models. We have a core model that the majority of our customers are on. And this is based on a monthly subscription fee of £100 plus VAT per month, which gives you access to the platform and access to all of the help and support that we've already talked about, the WhatsApp group, a portfolio review service, all that sort of thing. And we charge a download fee per report, which is capped at £600. So £600 is the most you will ever pay for reports. The report fee is actually based on 2% of the qualifying spend and capped at £600. So we've got one of the largest claims that's ever gone through the app is in excess of £9.5 million through the SME scheme. That customer paid £600. We've had some tiny claims go through, but just as an example, if you imagine you've got a client with a 10k eligible spend, you'll be charged 2% of that, so £200 will be your download fee. The idea being that we want to make sure that you never have to turn a client away because they're considered too small. The price of the report should adjust in line with the size of your client's fee, hoping as well that you can then always make a margin on the work that you're offering to your client. Our enterprise pricing is for those with larger volumes. So what we'd be doing is looking at a forecast of volumes over a period of time and working back to offer you a fixed monthly fee. If you feel you fall into that category, we'd be very happy to talk to you about that in more detail. However, regardless of which pricing model you're on, you can get access to, as Jen said, our WhatsApp group for customers only. It's a really supportive space. And as I said, all of the other information that you can see in front of you here, advice line support, automated risk review. Our claim review has an additional fee attached to it, as does the inquiry support service, but our portfolio review service as well is included in the subscription. And of course, you have all of the learning tools that Jenna has again already touched on, our webinars, our training course, our YouTube channel, and our ebook series as well. So that's our pricing. How do you get access to all of this? Well, we do have a trial offer today for anybody who's joining the call, where you get 30 days subscription free access to WhisperClaims. You also, within that period of time, get one report download for free. You also get that report reviewed by us for free. So that as a package is worth about £800. And throughout your trial, you get full access to our advice line support channels as well. And our to help you through the process, to help you understand how best to deploy the software within your firm. There's two main ways to access the trial. You can either contact me directly. My email address will be appearing on the next page in just a moment, or you can use the book a demo link, which I think Michelle's very kindly just popped into the chat. So let us know if you'd like to get started. Drop us an email if you would like to have a deeper chat with us as well. So that's it from us, I think, now. I don't know if we've got any questions.
Thank you very much for that. So just for my own, just to recap on the offer, anybody that's watching this, whether it's live or on the recording, if they're considering doing an R&D tax claim, or one of their customers has come to them recently, they'd be nuts not to take that up, right? Because it's not going to cost them a penny to do the first one. So thank you for sharing that. I had a question. And I don't know whether you are okay to answer. Obviously, you've got your percentage for the report. Do you have much conversation in the groups with other accountants on what they should be charging? Because I think for me, that's a common thing that comes up around lots of different services, but particularly this industry.
Yeah, it's a really good question, and a really pertinent one, particularly in light of the squeeze on rates in this changing landscape that we've been talking about. Traditionally, firms would charge a contingent fee basis, and probably up until even maybe 5 years ago, a 30% contingent fee was quite commonplace.
Yeah.
Now you're much more likely to see anywhere between sort of 15% and 20% for large scale providers. We hear from our clients that many are moving towards maybe a more fixed fee type model, because by utilising, the software and the support, they get a good feel for how long the whole process is going to take, and that gives them confidence to be able to price on a fixed fee basis. On occasion, we do see a combination of where a customer will charge an upfront fixed fee, which generally speaking will cover the cost of the software. So let's say £600 to maybe £800 to kind of lock the client in, make sure that their cash flow is kind of dealt with in terms of the upfront fee that they're paying. And then they'll maybe charge a small contingent on success. Some will bundle this work in as part of a monthly retainer or an annual fee. So I guess it is horses for courses, and I suppose depending on the size of the clients that they're working with and the size of the claims, there is potentially a need to be a little bit, it's sensible to be a little bit flexible, you know, and obviously you're going to get to see the size of the claim and the price of the report you're going to pay before you've paid for the report download. So on that basis, you do have an opportunity before you finalise to make some decisions about how you want to fee. So taking into account your business model within your firm, the nature of your clients, and the value add that you see when you're delivering this service for your clients, you can sort of play about with all of those different points, I suppose.
No, brilliant, thank you. Hamza's asked a question, which is interesting for me because he's asking a question that's more about the industry as opposed to a related question about WhisperClaims. And Hamza, thank you for asking. But the reality for these webinars for me is for people to understand a little bit more about what goes on as well as what you guys do. And I think it's a great offering that we provide with our partners to be able to do that, especially if there's a lack of understanding and knowledge. So Hamza's written, I just wanted to ask a quick question regarding additional information form. How are R&D firms submitting this? By asking their clients for login details or asking the client to do this?
I can take this one, Suze. So most people we've spoken to are actually, if they're not already, are having themselves declared an agent. So they're getting an agent services account through HMRC, and then they are logging in as an agent. So it is set up that there's kind of two ways to access the form: as a company owner, as someone that would be actually part of the company. You can go in and you can just submit a claim for your own company, and that's it. If you're an agent, you can go in and submit multiple claims for multiple companies, and have several on the go at the same time. So the most of our clients that we've spoken to are actually going down that route. HMRC there were some questions raised at the R&D Consultative Forum about this, and HMRC definitely frown upon sharing login details. So they're saying that you shouldn't ever share your government gateway details with anyone. So their advice is to get yourself an agent services account and submit these claims as an agent. Potentially you could ask your client to do it. The complication there is because the timing is really important. So the form has to be submitted before the CT600. You know, if the CT600 goes in and then 10 minutes later you put in the form, the R&D part of the CT600 will be valid and HMRC will reject it. So you've got to be able to rely on that form being submitted first. So keeping control of that yourself is probably the best idea.
Is there any differentiation on how they see the claims if it's from a company as opposed to the accountant? Because I would have thought, looking at it objectively, black and white, to me, it would be if an accountant's filing it, it's more likely to be, it's more likely to have gone through the proper processes.
Not as far as we can tell, if I'm honest. At the moment, the way that HMRC are responding to claims, there doesn't seem to be any difference whether the company's done it themselves or not. To be honest, though, I think the stats show that something like 90% of R&D claims are submitted through an advisor, so either through an R&D consultant or the accountant. So we don't see much evidence of what happens with those that are submitted by the company themselves.
Just wondered if there was an angle for the sort of the accountant to say that we should be doing it and handling it for you. Hamza, thank you for your answer. The only issue with having the agent account is that if R&D firm is not the client's accountant, the accountant will get knocked off as the agent.
So this is moving outside of my area of expertise. But as far as I know, the way that this is set up, a company can have multiple agents and can have an agent that's just for R&D tax. So it won't knock the accountant off as long as it's done in the right way.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Another question. Where was it? Sorry. I've heard that HMRC are rejecting eligible claims. How can I be sure that a claim I'm going to submit on behalf of my client meets the criteria?
Do you want me to do that one, Jen?
You can. Yeah, I was trying to think of a polite way to say things, but no, go ahead, Sis.
Yeah, well, tell you what, you jump in. So as Jen will probably say, there is no way to prevent HMRC inquiring into a claim. It could be that there is something that has piqued their interest. Maybe there's an issue with costs, what have you, or it could just be a random compliance check. So there is no way to assure anybody that a claim will not go into an inquiry. It's a risk that every claim that's submitted has on it. However, So I suppose the point is that anybody submitting claims is highly likely to end up in that situation at some point in time. Just moving us hopefully back to WhisperClaims a little bit, the massive positive is that you have all the tools that you can tap into our advice line support. You've got the app to give you this very structured and repeatable process you go through. You've got eligibility checkers, you've got a risk review. All of these things working with us are designed to help you understand if eligibility exists. So the point being that from our perspective, you're very unlikely to be in a position where you're going to be downloading a claim that doesn't meet the criteria. And customers reflect back on us, even in situations where they've not been able to uncover eligibility, they've still gotten a huge amount of value from having, those deeper conversations with their clients. So it's a good process to go through with your clients. It's great for onboarding. It's great for getting to really understand your client. Jen, I don't know if there's anything else you want to say there, but, so.
Fundamentally, what we would say to everyone is it is about understanding the scheme yourself. So much as we're very proud of WhisperClaims, I think it's a great tool. It's very much like any other accounting software. If you don't know what you're doing, you will make mistakes and you're not going to produce robust claims. So learning the rules of the scheme yourself, spending some time with us with the advice line, doing some of our training, reading the ebooks. The sort of education part is really, really, really important because it isn't a completely straightforward area of tax. So making sure that you have the knowledge you need to make those decisions along with the software is really important.
Thank you. I think that's always the important thing, and I think that's the fear that accountants have of haven't got a specialist. But I think the idea of partnering with you guys is that they're going to get that extra support. If there is a claim, you may have covered it already. If there is a claim and they require extra support from you guys, is there a cost to that? What would be the process?
So no, there isn't an extra cost. So that comes in bundled in with the monthly subscription. So as Sue showed, you can email us, you can call us, you can get us on live chat. So most new clients, especially going through their first claim, might be getting in touch with us every day. And we can just walk you through everything we need. We've sat, we can have quite long conversations with clients about their particular client and the issues they're having with them. So we're very, very happy to put that effort in and to kind of hold hands through the first few, because we know that, as we say, that education thing is so important, and we want people to kind of gain that confidence to be able to move forward and do it by themselves. So yeah, there's no extra cost. The claim review is an extra cost because that obviously is a much bigger amount of time for us, but everything else we offer is included in the subscription.
And the claim review, is that all done electronically, or are there conversations involved in that?
That's a purely desk-based thing. So that's here's the information we found about the claim, about the company, publicly. So the kind of thing that HMRC would do, they do literally Google this stuff. And then we'll look at what the report looks like in we try to be a bit kind of detached HMRC point of view. So we don't know whether this company is eligible or not, but the way you've written it makes it sound eligible, makes it does, you've written this in slightly the wrong way, or if you could emphasize this part a bit more, you'd be more convincing in the way that is eligible. We're making an assumption, obviously, that all of our clients know what they're doing and they are putting in eligible claims, but it's very, very easy in the way you describe the work to make it seem less eligible than it is.
Excellent. I think we've got a couple of minutes left. I don't know if there's any other questions, or if there's anything else that Suze or Jen, you want to share with everybody about a reminder from me that Michelle will put a link in the description. If you're watching on YouTube, it will be in the description below. If you've got any claims, I guess, going on at the moment, just get a better demo booked and take advantage of the free month, because I think that could be quite lucrative for both the accountant and their customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't let it put you off from getting in touch. But we do always say it's good to have your client's claim lined up before you kick your trial off, just because 30 days is it's a generous amount of time for a trial, but it's also, as you all know, as anyone who's already doing this, it can be challenging to get your client to engage and get everything in within that period of time. So if it's something that you would like to do, we do suggest you line up a claim, but we can talk to you before then. We can have a conversation about the app, give you more of a demo, have a chat about what you're looking to achieve, that sort of thing. So get in touch.
And assuming, if I've understood it correctly, if there is a question that prevents or advises against doing a claim, that they've not downloaded the report anyway, so they've still got access to that free report.
Absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, well, yes, don't have any more questions. Thank you very much for joining us, and it was great to see you again, Jen. And we obviously wish Mike well and hope he feels better very soon. Brilliant substitution. I probably don't know football, but I'd put it in the lines of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who comes on, scores a couple of goals right at the end, so performs well for a last-minute substitution.
That means literally nothing to me.
No, I didn't think it was. It's a great compliment. That's all I can really do. Excellent. So thank you very much for joining us, and we will speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for watching our webinar with WhisperClaims. Jen and Suze were here to discuss how you can prepare robust R&D tax claims that your clients can depend on. Within the webinar, we were speaking to them about how the ever-changing landscape of R&D tax claims can really affect customers and also accountants from submitting their claims. With their software, you can be assured that you can provide a robust as possible R&D tax claim. Now, if you'd like to hear more from us, please click like and subscribe to our channel. Alternatively, if you can see any videos below that you would like to watch next, please do so. Here at the Accountants Mastermind, we're here to inspire, challenge and support you to have the best practice you can.